Hello, hello everyone. Hi. Welcome to episode 2 of the Body Talks. Today, our guest is going to be Megan Key, who is a transgender activist and a diversity and inclusion specialist in the public sector. So, while we wait for Megan to connect, for the ones of you who hasn't been who doesn't know what the Body Talks is a new Instagram interview series that is going to talk about bodies, but just as a starting point for a hopefully more meaningful conversation about empowerment, inclusion, equality, and just to share and amplify voices of people that deserve it. Yes, Megan, you're here. Okay, let's get Megan in. So welcome everyone. I'm really excited today. Megan is a very, very good friend of mine, and I can't wait for you to meet her.
Morning.
Megan!
Hey, baby, you okay?
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Let me see if I can straighten this up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. How you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you? I just came out from a shower.
You look cute. I like your necklace. It's really pretty.
Thank you. I thought to come up with the colors of the transgender
Yeah.
flag, which happen to be also my favorite colors as well. So double win, double whammer. You look very cute as well.
Ah, thanks.
Cool. So as I was saying to our followers, today you are my guest, and I'm so honored and happy that you accepted to be interviewed, but also to have a conversation with me in front of my audience. You are a good friend of mine, and I've been learning a lot from you, especially on transgender issues and queer theories and life, really. So I'm really keen for you to share your knowledge and your experience with everyone. So I would like for just for an intro, as I know that not everyone is familiar with the transgender theory, or like not everyone knows a transgender person. They don't have experience of talking to them in their life. Can we just have a quick intro, like vocabulary basics of like what does transgender mean, and then we get into your story?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll give you just like a really quick synopsis because, gender identity is really complex, and that's okay. People identify in different ways. Transgender is an umbrella term. It encompasses lots of gender identities. And for example, if you go on Facebook and put in your profile, you can identify in over 60 different ways. So you might hear things like trans woman, trans man, gender queer, non-binary, trans masc, trans femme, but the term transgender is usually used to talk about somebody whose gender identity, their sense of self, their sense of who they are, is different to the sex they were assigned at birth. So, for example, I was assigned male at birth, so when they were born, they had a look at my body and they're like, yep, that's definitely a boy. But I'm not a boy. I'm a female. I'm a trans woman, but I'm still a woman. And yeah, so that's the way I see it. In the simplest terms, your gender identity is different to the sex you're assigned at birth. And if you want, as we go through the conversation, we can talk about some of the different terminology you like.
Yeah,
but we won't go through it all.
No, exactly. No, it's a totally different whole conversation. But basically, to summarize, there is like a difference between the sex you're assigned at birth, your sexuality, and your gender identity, and yeah.
And gender identity is who you feel yourself to be, and gender expression is how you show that to the world. So what clothes you wear, how you might walk, talk, act. The society ascribes performative notions to gender. So women are supposed to act one way, men are supposed to act another way, and we disagree with some of that. And yeah, so it's much more complex than some people would like us to believe.
Yeah. And it's not, as I was saying, so yesterday, just as a reference, I watched the new documentary of Laverne Cox,
Yeah.
and one of well, many, I took so many notes, it was so interesting, but one of the things that actually resonates, meaning like it was like I wasn't surprised, but it's still like a massive number. So like 80% of American people have never encountered a transgender person in their life apart from seeing it in the media. And I have to say that I'm not surprised, because myself, before moving to London, I had no idea really of what transgender really meant, being
Mm.
transgender and what the transgender experience was. So, and like growing up in Italy, where like there is no gender theory at school, no education, and all you can like perceive and learn is from comments of people in the streets. I had never, also like, we're going to talk about disclosure later and the representation in the media, but some of the films that I watched as a kid, yeah,
Yeah.
watching them back yesterday and seeing what that actually meant, it was like absolutely crazy. And so I think that there is still not enough education for everyone. So before coming to London, I didn't really know what transgender meant, and now I feel so lucky that I'm part of a community where like you are a good friend of mine. And
Yeah.
so what I wanted to say is that yeah, so let's talk about you, Megan. Let's talk
Yeah.
about your experience. So when did you realize you felt you are
Yeah.
yeah, what's your story?
Let me just so let's just like break it down from what you
Yeah.
said. Yeah, that's right. In America, 80% of people think they've never met a trans person, but how do you know? We don't all look trans. We don't all wear a t-shirt, and you might have worked with someone, passed someone in the shop, spoke to someone who could be trans. And it's really, really important that we don't just talk about trans people as you know, a visible difference. You know, we're there, we're everywhere, and it's just because conversations are more wide now and becoming more accepted, that we're being more visible. So I'll just say that, yeah, I am a binary, so I do see myself as a binary, trans female, so I'm a trans woman. You can say that I'm transgender. Don't mind that term as well, and I came out visibly 10 years ago. I transitioned 10 years ago. Uh, let's just say I'm of a certain age. I don't want to talk about my age because
No,
I'm
you don't have
sensitive.
to. You don't have to.
I'm sensitive about it, but I'd say about 25 years ago, in the 90s, I went for counselling, and it came out that I was trans. I was really depressed. I was unhealthy. I was, 20 stone in weight. I don't know what that is for kilos for people watching internationally, but I was a heavy smoker, drank a lot, and I was really, really unhappy. I went to an all-boys school as a teenager, and by the time I got to 20, I was really miserable. Didn't know what it was. Did some counselling. They said, "We think you're trans." And in the 90s, I didn't want to be trans. This was the age of Jerry Springer. And if you live in the UK, you know, the red top newspapers, the Sun, the Daily Mirror, the Sunday Sport and stuff. And they used to depict trans women as, you know, stereotypical, wearing fishnets and, leopard print, and we drive trucks and stuff like this. And if you do, if you're trans and that's your vibe, then good for you.
Yeah.
But they would used to depict us, and Jerry Springer would have us on TV fighting and shouting and breaking up homes, and would always be drug misusers and things like this. And so I didn't want to be trans. So I spent my 20s trying to hide it. And I spent my 20s partying, clubbing a lot. I've been on the club scene for 25 years. I love dancing. I love the people. I love the community. That's where queer people hang out a lot of the time. And I took, drugs, binge drink, and all of this. Yeah. And I didn't come out until I was in my 30s. Yeah. So it took me 15 years to make the decision to transition, and then it took and then I've been transitioned for 10 years. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that gives you a little bit of an insight. I mean, I could write a book. People keep telling me to write a book.
Yeah, exactly, Megan. What are
But
you waiting for? So I guess you were doing all those things because you were sort of like try to hide it, but like to yourself in a way, like you didn't want to accept it, like because coming out is sort of like self-acceptance in a way, right?
yeah, well, it's not just self-acceptance. That's part of it. But my big worry was being accepted by the people around me, by my family, my friends, my co-workers. You know, I didn't want to walk down the street and get attacked or spat at or shouted at. And that's the reality. That was the reality then. And it's still the reality now for some trans people. You know, I'm lucky. I have a certain element of passing privilege, which means that I can walk down the street and just get recognised as a cisgender woman, so you know, a woman that's not trans. Sometimes people see me, and I've had a couple of instances where I've been shouted at, but nowhere near the level of violence, physical or verbal, that a lot of trans people I know have. So in my 20s, the shame of being transgender was excruciating. And as a result, you know, I've spent 25 years managing my mental health. You know, I'm diagnosed with complex PTSD, which means, you know, not just one instance of trauma, but several instances of trauma. And being transgender is part of that experience. So I didn't come out because of shame and what people would think. You know, it's important to say that I came out in the town where I grew up, the town where I was born, the town where I went to school, the town where all my lifelong friends were. And in my 20s, you know, I mean, I'm 6'1". I had a voice that was a lot deeper. If you know the singer Barry White, that was my kind of voice. And I had a skinhead. You know, I was a bigger person. And then the thought of being able to live successfully in the person I was myself to be, it just felt like a million miles away and never achievable. So yeah, so I had a long journey.
And
Not the
what was
same.
the yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
I was just going to say it's not the same for everyone. You know, it's really important for people who might be listening or watching that this is just my experience. You know, there's a million ways to be transgender. Every experience is different. You know, and if we talk a little bit more, we can talk about intersectionality and being marginalised in amongst marginalised communities. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was wondering, after these like years and years of like pain, and what was the tipping point? What made you take a decision and finally come out to yourself and then to the people around you?
I had a nervous breakdown 10 years ago. Is it 10? Yeah, no, yeah, about 10 years ago, I had a nervous breakdown. The stress of trying to deny my identity became too much. You know, I in my 20s, I completed a degree at university because I thought that would make me happy. Then I
What
went
did
to
you
have
study?
graphic design, so I was a graphic designer, and then I travelled around the world for 18 months with 3 of my friends because I thought if I go around the world I'll find paradise there and I won't have to face up to being trans. You know, and I had a great time travelling, and I lost 8 stone in weight. I got, you know, I got healthier because I was unhealthy. I've always had a lot of issues around my body, not just being trans, but being a bigger person. Then I came back and I got another degree in community justice, and I joined the probation service.
Okay.
Because I'm a community activist. You know, although I like graphic design, it doesn't satisfy me as much as working with people and supporting people. And yeah, it's about values, right?
Yeah.
And then I started running marathons. I ran marathons all over the world because I thought being fit and healthy would make me happy. And I still wasn't out that I was trans. And in the end, I had a nervous breakdown. And at that point, they, you know, medical professionals told me, and I already knew it, that if I didn't transition, I'd kill myself. And that was 10 years ago. And yeah, I think I'm happier now than I've ever been in my life. So
What
yeah.
has changed? What did you realize?
I came to terms with who I was. I found a lot of support. So, I'm a big mental health advocate. I've had 8 years of therapy since I've been an adult. I'm in therapy now because I'm going through I don't know, like life changes. I'm not going to say it's a difficult time because it's just life, and
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that I have a job that allows me to get therapy.
Yeah.
So I got professional help. I found my people. It took me a long
How did you
time.
find your people, Megan?
Well, it took me a long time because going back 10 years, I went to counselling at a gender with a gender charity, and because I was really ashamed of being trans, they used to have these. I'd go for my counselling, and then they'd have like a drop in, and trans people used to come in and out and play pool and have coffee and stuff. And it took me 3 years to enter that room because I didn't want to be one of those people because I always thought it was bad to be trans. And then when I did, I found my community, and that's been really supportive. And I moved to London 3 years ago. I've had a love affair with London for 25 years, but I only moved here 3 years ago, and now I feel that I'm surrounded by beautiful queer people, So,
Yeah.
and then coming out to my family was really important. My
Yeah.
family have been really supportive. Some of my friends back home in Birmingham, in the middle of England, where I'm from, they're all cisgender, heterosexual. They supported me, and I really owned it. Chloe, you know me, like I am lucky that I'm not a wallflower, I'm an extrovert. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to come out, then I'm going to do it on my terms.
Yeah.
And because otherwise the alternative was to kill myself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I thought that
Let's just do it and do it fully. Like,
yeah,
fuck it.
yeah. If I'm not going to kill myself, let's chuck it out there.
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate because I've been really successful at work, and I'm been an activist for 10 years and all that. But I've really put the hard work in as well.
Yeah.
I have privileges. I'm white, I'm middle class. I've always had a job. I've always had a supportive family. I had a good education. I still have other challenges, but yeah, I think it's important to recognise that it's a lot easier for me than someone who's poor, person of colour, someone with a disability, someone who doesn't speak English as their first language in the UK, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And those things compound our difficulties, but I'll tell you now, it's not easy for anyone who's trans, and we know with the the political environment at the moment around the world, it can be very challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned family, and this makes me think again of Disclosure, this documentary, and like it's for like because the media and like television and films portrayed like transgender people forever as like some like someone either violent or disgusting or not worthy of love. Like not only from what I perceive, not only transgender trans people felt not worthy or like not loved or not worth it, but also that they are worried that their family would perceive them in that way because they didn't have any other example of good sort of like acceptance and love. And there was one example in the film about this dad that was saying that his child was a unicorn, so it was like so special and rare that it's just to love. And I think was someone else said, "Oh, if only my parents perceived me as something somehow like positive and not." That would have been a different experience. So I think it's down to portrayal, representation, and education as well. So you're an activist, and like, what would you suggest? It's a good practice if you are if you have the information and if you like, how do you become an activist and what can you do? What do you do to help people? How people that need support can do?
Yeah, I mean, anyone can be an activist. You just got to care about people, right? So you know, if you know if you are on the trans spectrum, you've got lived experience, but you can be an ally as well. You know, you might have friends who are trans, or someone you work with, or at school with, or family, or whatever. And there you can get involved in different ways. You can join charities, you can volunteer, you can use your social media, follow certain people, follow accounts. It's all about, if you want to be an ally, you need to understand about our lived experiences and help us amplify our voices. You know, we don't need people to talk for us, just with us, really. And it's the same for me. You know, I'm an ally for people of colour, and you know, I support Black Lives Matter. But it's not about me talking about my views. It's about amplifying and doing the work. So to give you some great tips, I mean, you can follow Instagram accounts or Facebook or Twitter for Gendered Intelligence, Mermaid charity that work with trans kids, activists such as Munro Bergdorf, Glamru, who is a non-binary drag queen, has got a book out, Unicorn at the moment. Juno Roche is just Juno One on Instagram, has just brought a book out called Gender Explorers, which talks about trans kids. You know, UK Black Pride, follow that Instagram account and tune into what Lady Phil, who runs Black Pride, and her team are doing. There's loads out there. It's not difficult to find us. You can do Google searches. There are loads of charities. You know, click on Stonewall and you'll find loads of links. The important thing is just get out there and learn. Like, there's a lot of ignorance, and I'm afraid the really scary thing for us in this country is that there are a lot of ignorance around trans people. You know, there's horror stories you're hearing now about men in women's bathrooms and stuff like this. You know, don't take my word for it. Go out and learn yourself. I think I just want to pick up on the point you were making about disclosure. Let's just explain what disclosure is.
Let's take a moment to talk about this amazing documentary.
Yeah. So I'm really, really proud of this. I watched it last night. Came out on Netflix on Friday. So it's a documentary by Laverne Cox, who is a Black trans activist. She's a trans woman in the US. She's been in Orange is the New Black series on Netflix, and all kinds of things. I think she's a fantastic ambassador for the community, and she's directed this documentary on Netflix about the way trans people have been depicted in movies for the last 100 years. And I think it's incredible. It's made by a trans person for trans people. All the people who are spoken to in it are from the entertainment industry, and they're all trans. You'll recognise some of them. If you've ever seen Pose or Sense8 on Netflix, or you've ever watched the Matrix movies, which was directed by 2 trans women, you'll recognise some of the people in it. And it's a fantastic analysis of how the perception of trans people has changed over 100 years. And what's really, really important, I never really thought about it until I watched the documentary, is the way that we've been portrayed on the big screen and the small screen has directly impacted my decision to come out and the length of time it took to come out. And I think what's really, really hopeful for the future is that for trans kids, you know, Generation Z or Z, or wherever you live, the depictions of our lives and our experiences is more rounded and more positive, and I think it will enable more people to come out and live their authentic selves. You know, when I was coming out, we were always playing sex workers. We were always playing, you know, home wreckers, people with people who were parodies. If you look at Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, for an example, there's loads of parodies. And what Disclosure showed me as well is that a lot of the parodies were played against trans women of colour, particularly black trans women. And it's shocking, really. So to see Laverne Cox, Janet Mark, amongst others, these, two prominent black trans women being successful is incredible. What did you think about it? You tell me, because I can talk about it all day. But
as I said, I really, really liked it too, and it made me realize that I didn't like that the way that the transgender community has been portrayed. It has really impacted the way. Well, I was a kid when, for example, the Ace Ventura one that you just mentioned, I remember really liking it, but I couldn't really remember exactly what happened in it. But it just, I kind of I'm not excusing anyone, but I just sort of understood why people that makes comments, or they are afraid of the transgender community. Where did they pick it up? Because if they didn't know anyone in person, or didn't know they knew anyone, and then this is what they get told, that if they see a transgender woman, they have to call it out, or call her out as a man, or puke or laugh. Even the comedy shows where someone makes a joke about a transgender woman, and then the audience, the fake sounds of the laughs, ha 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 ha, teaching that you have to ridicule them and not support them. I understand now how, when I, even in my own experience, when the only way I heard about trans people in Italy was just a disparaging term of transgender as a prostitute, or as a Brazilian prostitute. Even that's the kind of common view of it. Or when I mentioned it to my grandma, for example, I was trying to have a conversation with her. Well, bless her, she's over 90 and she has dementia. But a few years ago, I mentioned her about a transgender friend of mine, and I tried to explain to her what transgender meant, and then when I said it, she was like, "Oh, que schifo!" "Oh my god, it's disgusting." So her idea of someone that is not the norm was shocking, and I was really sad, because I'm how do you know, if you don't know anyone that is transgender, that they are disgusting? They are anything like it, they're amazing, but it's so difficult to change the brain, how the brain change the education, change the perception of someone after all these years of bad representation. So, well, and correct me if I'm using the wrong language, because I'm
no, it's fine. I think what the documentary showed really well is the way that cisgender men have been used to play trans women
that's
in
another
film and TV, and continue to do so. I mean, if you look at the movie The Danish Girl with Eddie Redmayne, that came out, what, 3 or 4 years ago maybe, and we're still using cisgender men to play trans women. So that tells the audience that trans women are just men in dresses. And for too long, the narrative about trans women in film has been to show us as super femme, always either glammed up, doing makeup. How often do you see butch trans women, masculine trans women? It's always super femme trans women. And today, I've not got any makeup on because I don't want to wear any makeup. This whole thing about gender performance is really, really important, and that's why we need to see more trans women playing our own roles in film. And people can say, well, it's acting, and we should be able to act different types of person. So you might have an able-bodied person or a non-disabled person playing a disabled person. But the reality of it is, we're in the minority. We don't get these roles. We don't get the jobs. So that's why we need them, and it will lead to more accurate presentations of our lived experiences. So let's not see any more men playing trans women, please.
Exactly. Another thing that I took so many notes, but another thing, exactly what you said, like it was for this 2006 movie, I think it was Breakfast Pluto, but where the Golden Globe went to Best Actor to Cillian Murphy, and they said that they initially kind of like reached out to a transgender woman to do it, but then they didn't pick her because she was too like passing as a woman, so they really wanted a man that could put makeup on and look like a woman to make it more trans. They was
Yeah,
like, what did they do? And then he also
yeah.
won an Oscar, and she didn't cast. She wasn't cast. What are we talking
I
about?
know, I know. And even now, you know, we need to see more diversity in the trans people that are on screen. You know, I think we're starting to see that. If you look at Pose, the series that I think is on Netflix, it was on BBC iPlayer, and it's shown in the US as well. That's fantastic 'cause it's a game changer. It's written by a trans woman, a black trans woman, and there are more real trans people in that series than in anything else on television, and it's been widely received. You've got, you know, I mentioned Sense8, the Netflix show that is produced by a trans woman, and Jamie Clayton stars in it as a trans woman. There is more accurate representation of us, but we still need to see more diversity. You know, I think that we're starting to have conversations in society about non-binary people, genderqueer people, about what gender expression really is. The fact that it is performative, it's not laid in stone. It's something that society has constructed, and you can be feminine, masculine, somewhere in between, or whatever. If you look at people like Sam Smith, who's non-binary, Alok Vemon, who is a trans advocate in the States, these people are showing that there are a million ways to be gender diverse, and we should be seeing those people on screen as well. So I think we're getting there, but there's a lot more we can do.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool is it that that, you know, you can be essentially whoever you want, and, you know, it makes the world interesting. It wants to all look the same. You know,
Yes.
I don't want to look the same as everyone else. You know, and we're seeing, you know, with your body, you know, being part of the body positivity movement.
I was about to just go there, so great.
Yeah,
Yes, carry on.
you know that I follow that, and we both got our kit off and walked in Trafalgar Square in our underwear. You know, and you know, I did that as a visible trans woman. With the body positive movement, that is also showing the way that who we are can be as individual as we want. You know, body hair, you know, we're talking about body hair, we're talking about people who have different body shapes. You know, body positivity is, you can be slim, you can be a bigger person. It's all good.
You can be whoever you want.
Yeah, as long as you're happy, it's really, really important. So the two things have a lot of common similarities, right? All we want to do is promote a world where you can just be yourself and you know, live happily in whatever body it is that you have, and be loved for it. Yeah, I didn't fall in love till I was in my 40s. You know, I didn't even know what love was, and now, you know, I've dated and stuff, you know, and but it took a long time for me to love myself, and that's what we need to be promoting. That, you know, whoever you are, you're lovable.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
exactly. And yes, I think that's the biggest, another thing that I picked up from the documentary, but I also picked up from real life, is that at the end of the day, everyone wants to be loved, and
that's
they're just
right.
afraid that being different, they don't get loved enough. But we just need to spread the message that like everyone can be loved, and
Yeah,
as long as they love themselves, though.
yeah, and it's really important, you know, for cis people to understand, cisgender people to understand, that for trans women, you know, we've been told that we are unlovable. You know, if men fall in love with a trans woman, you know, they're seen by their peers, their friends, as you're really gay, really. You know, that's just a man in a dress. You know, and that's not true. That's not absolutely not true. And we need to see more representation of trans relationships. talk about the body positivity movement. If you follow Body Positive Panda,
Yeah.
Megan Jane Crabb, who is just a fantastic advocate. She wrote a brilliant book, Body Positive Power. She's currently dating. Excuse me, she's currently dating a trans guy, and that visibility, you know, that's a political act. You know, the fact that, you know, people who are cisgender are willing to be seen loving us and, you know, being loved by us is extremely, extremely important. And it's only in the last few years where I found people that do that. Yeah. And now I feel better than I've ever felt. You know, I've been very lucky to have experienced love.
Yeah. Oh, well, all the books that you mentioned, I'm tempted to just go in my library and just take out the books that you mentioned, because they're so. This is Body Positive Panda.
Yeah,
Body Positive Power. Oh my God! And then I have Unicorn from Glamroom.
Yeah.
I am getting there, and then I have, oh my God, Queer Intentions by Amelia Abraham. And then basically all the ones, and also another really good one, Travis and Balanza. We haven't mentioned them.
Travis.
Yeah, yeah, and also oh my God, so many. Well, the Diary of a Drag Queen from our beloved friend Tom / Crystal, who's non-binary, and that's a good example of their own experience. Sorry. I will. So it just filled me with joy when you mentioned those books, because I'm like, yes, I'm on it. I'm on it.
And you know, I was in a book a couple of years ago called Queer Sex by Juno Roche. It's a fantastic book, talking about the experiences of different people in the trans community, about sex and intimacy, and I was really proud to be involved in that. Wasn't so sure when Cosmopolitan quoted me on their website out of it, and my mum read it, talking about masturbation. But I think that the key point about you know, what I had to say in Queer Sex about trans people's sex and intimacy is that we're lovable, whatever body shape we have, whatever body parts we have, you know, love, desire, intimacy, none of it is to do with body parts. It's about who you are as a person. And if you're queer like me and you know, you came out as queer on your Instagram yesterday. We don't tend to see love and sexual attraction around what body people inhabit. I'm more concerned about who they are, and you know, sexual pleasure. You can just work around that and just find out what somebody wants, and you know, that's what's so good about it. You know, why have we got our boundaries about who we care about, who we are, how we show ourselves to the world? Get rid of them. It's more interesting without them. I don't need it. You know, and maybe it's not a discussion for today, but
no, I want to talk about it. Can we do another episode where we talk about sexuality, masturbation, like
we can talk about sex and intimacy. I haven't got a problem with it. Like, you know, I think it's important that, you know, all our stories are told. There's not just one way to have sex, not one way to fall in love. We're all entitled to it. We're all, you know, we all deserve it. We all deserve attention and stuff. So let's talk about it. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's carry on this conversation. And if anyone has any questions, otherwise I would wrap it up here. Thanking you so much for sharing your experience and being vulnerable in front of the camera. I feel so lucky that I know you and that I'm your friend. So let's keep the conversation up. Let's keep sharing resources. Maybe I can do a post afterwards where I write down everything, all the references of like activists and books. So for whoever is interested can go and look them up and follow people. And I wish you an amazing Sunday. Anything else you want to do? Do you have any plans, Megan?
Wow, before we do that, I just want to say, you know, please, people, if you're interested, go away, watch the documentary. If you've got podcasts, go and listen to Brene Brown interviewing Laverne Cox. That came out this week. It's a fabulous podcast talking about trans experiences, Black Lives Matter, and what it feels to be in love. Brene Brown is another beautiful spiritual person that I connect with. So go and do that. please do go and search out on social media for some of the hashtags. Follow Black Lives Matter. Get involved with that cause too. It's another example of oppression, and we're not there until we're all there. So please get involved. And today I'm in London. The sun is shining. I've got a few more calls. I'm going to connect with some people because we're in lockdown and I'm missing people. Then I'm going to go out for a run, get some fresh air, hug some trees. I like to hug a tree.
Yeah, I do.
Just have a lovely, lovely chill day. So yeah. So
Megan, you're also part of a panel for those in Superstore. Do you want to share so everyone that wants to know more about what you're doing or hear more?
So that's really good. So it's Pride Month, as you probably know. So if you followed Dawson Superstore, so that's at D Superstore on Instagram, they're doing a week's worth of Pride events. There's loads of good stuff around employment, trans lives, trans experiences, activism, intersectionality. I'm chairing a panel on Thursday night at 7 p.m. That's going to be on Zoom, I think. But if you look at Dawson Superstore on Facebook or Instagram, you'll get the details. And then also, as it happens, although this is live, I'm currently taking part this weekend in an initiative by Trans Creative, which is a national trans organisation in the media. And there's a whole series of events on Trans Creative's Instagram and Facebook this weekend. Loads of talks, loads of discussions. And right now, it started at 1:00, 100 trans voices. You'll be able to download it afterwards as well. And I'm on there talking about my experiences, along with 99 of the trans people, I hope.
Wow, that's amazing! Oh my God, I can't wait. So we're going to write the links.
You cannot miss trans people this Pride. Get involved, join the conversation. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay not to know all about us. It's okay to make slip-ups. I don't care as long as people want to learn and want to get closer. So don't be afraid. Get involved and enjoy yourselves.
I mean, I will finish this live just with these words from you, Megan, because I 100% agree. So learn, read, watch, ask us, follow people, celebrate and be kind and love.
Get involved.
Get involved, peeps.
Have a great weekend.
Have a lovely rest of the Sunday, Megan.
I love you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Bye.